that way. So, I think it's just a matter of time. It is happening. I think there will also be some really large Drupal shops. I can easily see a Drupal shop with 500 developers. I don't think it's unrealistic to happen in the next 10 years, because a lot of these large users, they have a lot of trouble finding the right kind of company to work with. They need a lot of people to help, and it's hard to hire and find those large enough teams in today's world. I think in 2020, the IBMs and the Capgeminis and the Accentures of the world, sort of the major top 20 consulting firms, they'll all make Drupal a practice area. I think they'll all have some Drupal expertise in-house and start doing Drupal work. As a side effect, I think sort of I know everyone important in the Drupal community era, might go away a little bit. There's no more secret handshakes. Like if you want to fix something in the form API, you go to Chix or Fago. If you want some performance stuff done, you talk to David. I think some of that might actually go away, right? Because there's just going to be so many people that know enough about the thing that there's multiple people that you can get access to. I think some of those large companies, I hope that they'll start contributing to PHP. We're sort of tied to the hip when it comes to PHP, and some of us are betting our businesses on PHP and how PHP evolves over time. So I think it would be nice if some people actually started to contribute to PHP to make sure that it has a healthy future, and to help make sure it has a healthy future. Of course, more dramatic things could happen as well. What happens to the LAMP stack? If you look at how technology has been evolving, it used to be the LAMP stack, now it's like 30 different things that you use, including Cassandra and MongoDB and Memcached. It's getting more and more complex, and the definition of the LAMP stack is changing. And the individual components of the LAMP stack, or at least the older ones, aren't making as much progress, I guess, as a technology than some of the newer components. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. All right. I think in 2020, the Drupal Association will have a physical office and 10 full-time employees. I think that would be a great goal, to help with the infrastructure, to help with, organizing the events and all of those things that they do today, and, and then some, because there's much more that they could do. I think it will happen. We'll see. I hope that in 2020, we'll have a lot of young people in the community, because a picture like this is just wrong. I hope we continue to rock, but I hope there's also going to be a new generation of young people. And it's a little bit of a challenge, because I look at the average age of this conference with the average age of the people at DrupalCon Antwerp 5 years ago. We all got older, and the number of young people, it feels lower. So there is a risk of aging as a group, if you will. So we need to find ways to attract young people, and it's a little bit of a challenge because the bar to get into Drupal is getting higher and higher. So we need to learn to recognize really talented people that don't have the experience, but that do have the talent to get there, to get where we are or where we were a couple of years ago. It's something that we need to be very careful about. Be careful not to, kick out talented people because they don't know what they don't know yet. I think if Drupal grows by a factor of 10, we'll also have a lot of bad people, that might make things, really difficult in a way. Certification is one of the options. Just set the bar for what it means to be a good Drupal person, and reward the people that make it over. I don't know what the solution is. It's one solution, but I'm sure there's other solutions. But that's something to watch out for, and it's finding that balance between ruling out the morons, but still letting in the talented people that have the potential is something that we all can help with. And I won't tell you the entire story, but there is a great essay or blog post from Paul Graham on Yahoo, and what he saw. He basically founded a company, sold it to Yahoo, worked at Yahoo for a while, and he said, Google and Facebook, they are really successful because they have a hacker culture, because the engineers are ruling the place. And Yahoo never had that. And so Yahoo is sort of, it's not as sexy a company as some of these others. And so we need to be careful to maintain that hacker-centric culture. Because at the end of the day, we want to build good products. I think that's the #1 thing that we want to do. We want Drupal to be really, really solid, and we want to attract good developers. And the way to attract good developers is to be good developers. I think bad developers attract bad developers, and once you have enough bad developers in a project or in a company, it all goes downhill. So I think we should continue to lead sort of with engineering, with good developers, because ultimately, we're all about software. So, but I do think that the community has what it takes, and I do think we all understand that it's ultimately up to us, to make this work. I do think we have the right foundation today, and I hope we can continue to build that foundation. I think we can scale as a community. When we were like 100 people a few years ago, we had this exact same conversation. We wondered whether we could scale to 1,000 people. And then when we were 1,000 people, we wondered whether we could scale to 10,000 people. We're more than 10,000 people today, and so now we're wondering, can we scale to 100,000 people? In a couple of years, we'll wonder, can we scale to 1 million people? All of those things. So, and I think we can. I think ultimately, it's all about the culture. It's not really about the size. It doesn't really matter how many people we are. And so, I said this in San Francisco, but we need to protect our culture. We need to, keep working on that. And that's, a culture of sharing and collaboration. That's why we are here today, because we decided to share and to collaborate all together. And that's something very important. It's also a culture of passion and believing. And that's why we have issues with 200 comments. And why we still all like each other. It's a culture where everybody can be a respected leader, but also a follower. Somebody takes charge, people self-organize, they make things happen. And that's something that we need to continue to do. It's a culture of innovation. I think we are far ahead of some of the other open source CMS projects. Things like support for Cassandra, things like support for RDFA, for OpenID, all of those things. We had that first. We do have a culture of innovation, something that's very important and we need to keep pushing for. It's part of the hacker-centric culture. A culture of execution. We always said, talk is silver, code is gold, and that has to be very true.